guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing another book review. This one is on This Side of the Grave by Jeaniene. And it is the 8th book if you count the ebook, 7th if you don't count the ebook. But I count the ebook because on the list of reading the books in the order you're supposed to, that's where it was. So, and I'm going to talk about the ebook today as well, but I'm going to talk about this book first. Okay, so it's very good. I really enjoyed this one. There was lots of action. There was lots of like investigating, figuring out things. There was not a lot of, but there was still plenty of romance and some smutty scenes that were really good. There was tons of humor. So much humor. I saved one that I thought was the funniest that I'll quote. It was awesome. I think it's one of my favorite out of the series so far. Okay, so it starts out where Cat and Bones are going to meet these two vampires. Well, there's supposed to be one, but ended up being two of them. And they're young vampires, and their master of their line got killed, and so they're masterless, and that's like really bad in the vampire world, because then you don't, other vampires will see you as free game and will go after you and kill you, and because you don't have like a master for them to answer to or to protect you and stuff. And so, and they have like no reputation. They're like the bottom of the food pile basically, because they're not like strong like a master vampire and everything. They have like very little ability like at all other than just regular vampire abilities. So they're just like on the bottom of the totem pole. Anyway, so vampires have been going missing, and Bones and Cat are investigating that, and these two can't figure out why they care about that, but they end up caring about it because of a war between species, between the ghouls and the vampires, and they don't want that at all, because it would just destroy so many lives that no one would really win, you know. And because she's drinking his blood, Cat, she gets some of his abilities, even the ones that got handed to him by Mercari in another book, like the 4th book, I think, or 3rd. And she can hear humans' thoughts like he can, but because she doesn't hear all the time, and she's not a master vampire, she has a really hard time, like, it like overwhelms her, and he's like helping her to try to like it hits her really bad, and when that happens, she's like, I'm like defenseless because it completely like paralyzes me. I can't focus on anything. And so he has to like walk away from these two vampires they're talking to help her calm down, and then they go back and talk to them. But after she gets it calmed down, he's just like, she's like, I need to start drinking like a just normal vampire instead of you, because you're so powerful, like it's just too overwhelming. And he's like, yeah, but if you do it like keep doing it all the time, eventually it gets easier. And then she's like, yeah, but there's a reason, and I even wrote this quote down, there's a reason you develop powers over time. She's like, there's a reason you don't have them right away when you become a vampire, that it takes a long time to become a master vampire, and even longer to get abilities and stuff like you and Mercari and like Vlad and everyone has. She's like, it's because young vampires are not ready for it. And she's like, I'm not ready for it. I've been a vampire for like just a year, like just barely over a year, and it's just too overwhelming for me. Like, I'm not ready for it. And he was just like, yeah, okay, I see your point. And then they went back and talked to these vampires and found out one of their friend that was from their line, that they all lived with together to try to look out for each other. is missing. And so they went to check it out, found their dead bodies, and told them. And then Bones offered them to be part of his line. And they're like, why would you do that? And he was like, are you going to say no to this offer? And so basically they're like, no. And he's like, but don't tell anyone. And here's my number. Call me if there's like any suspicious activity or anything, like you're in any danger. And the cat, after they left, she's like, why would you offer that? We don't know them. And he told him it's because like they're really loyal and he needs more loyal vampires in his line and that are useful and stuff. And so, but she realized it's because he's using them as bait, because if someone kills them when now they're in his line, he has the right to open an investigation on any master vampire or ghoul, any of them, and without open war being declared upon him, because that's within his rights. So that's why he did that. But actually it worked out for these other two vampires. So and then they find out that this ghoul that in the other books, Apollyon, has been trying to rally the ghouls against Cat because she's half vampire, was half vampire, half human. And the last one was Joan of Arc, and she obviously chose death rather than turn into a vampire. And when she learned all that, she was mad because he was trying to start a war over it, because if she turned to a ghoul or a vampire, like, she'd be so like a weapon for the vampires to turn them into slaves, that's what he's saying. But most vampires don't want to turn ghouls into slaves. Like, they see them as like family and friends and like the same as them, because they're like both connected very closely to each other. And so most vampires aren't looking for that, and neither are most ghouls wanting to do the war. But Apollyon just wants to become powerful, and so he wants a war, and he wants the ghouls to win. He wants to be like the king and everything. And even though she's a vampire, he keeps trying to tell everyone, no, she wasn't changed, because I saw her and her heart started beating, and they're trying to like portray that she's a vampire. But he and everyone else doesn't realize that when she gets mad or scared or something, her heart starts beating, and that also helps her with any abilities that she's drank from another vampire, because she drinks vampires, and so she's not like fully dead like a vampire. She was already half dead when she was born, and so now she's got to drink dead, like vampires have to drink human blood because it gives them the gift of life, basically. And she already has that gift, and so she has to drink vampire blood to have some of the undead blood to give her the gift of being undead, kind of a thing. But Apollyon doesn't know this, and no one else knows this because they've kept this kind of secret. Anyway, and so then they go to see the voodoo queen, Marie, to try to see if she'd be on their side, because that would pull huge weight with the ghouls, because she's a ghoul. And so they go and talk to her, and while there, she actually says some things that actually help Cat figure things out later. But she also she attacked Bones with remnants, and they're bad news. You think wraiths are bad news, they are, but remnants are really bad news too. And she made her drink her blood, and they find out that Cat can also get ghouls' abilities through drinking blood, and so she got all this like voodoo power, basically, to control spirits and stuff, and she's very strong that way. And so spirits keep coming to her, like they're drawn to her, and she has to like wear this cigarette smoking weed on her all the time to try to repel them, because she doesn't want them to hear her plans and like tell someone else. But then Vlad helps her like hone those powers, and learn how to call the remnants. She figures out calling remnants, you call them with blood and also call them off with blood. And ghost tears. That's how you do that. And so then she finds out that amidst all this, her Uncle Don is very, very sick, and he's not going to last long. He has cancer, and he's dying. And she goes to visit him, and she knows the seriousness of it because he's not working on any, thing. He's not working. And that's just awful for her. And then he dies in this book, and it's very sad. And then she gets his ashes, and she goes home to grieve. But then she doesn't really have time to grieve because Apollyon is still trying to get others to come after her. And they have been attacked several times in this book by ghouls and stuff. But then they finally, she realizes what Maria said to her, and she's like, I know how to find him. It's with ghosts. And so she summons tons of them, and then she tells them, basically orders them, go find him, and then tell Fabian, who's the ghost that they've kind of adopted, and he'll report to me. And so they do that. They find out where he's going to be. And so them and, their friends, Mancheras and Kira and Spade and Denise and Ian and even the lady that was in the last book, as old as Mancheras, his friend, the one that's a cup for, a judge for, not cop, a judge for vampires. Starts with V for, I can't remember her name. But anyway, they're all there to help, and they get there and they finally get to him, and they had to kill a lot of ghouls, but only the ones that were trying to protect him, and then all the ones that surrendered, they didn't hurt or kill. And then she gives him the choice to fight for his life and earn his life or die, and he refuses to fight her, and that's what sickens her, is the fact he's a coward. And then he goes to this judge vampire, and it's I throw myself at your courts and at your feet, and you have to protect me, you have to. And she's like, you killed my friend, Joan of Arc. And Kat was kind of shocked to hear that. And then, so she's like, so I sentence you to death for trying to start a war with vampires and ghouls. And he didn't expect that. And she's like, I don't care how you die, but you're dying today. And so she's like, either fight Kat or die right here, right now. I don't care. And so he still refuses. So she kills him, and she has to do it because she's basically showing everyone, I don't need bones to kill people for me or to fight my fights for me. I can do it myself. I'm strong enough. And she also tells the ghouls and vampires that are there that don't know, reason my heart beats is because I'm still half alive. And I drink vampire blood, and I get their abilities, and that's why you keep hearing I have all these abilities already, even though I'm a new vampire. She's like, so I'm not a ghoul. I am a vampire. So what he's saying is no longer applicable because I didn't turn to a ghoul or anything. I'm a vampire. And like it or not, this is how it is. And if you come after me, I will kill you like I am Apollyon right now in front of you. And then Marie shows up and is like, what are you doing with these other ghouls? And basically stating that if you hurt them, I'm going to kill all of you right now. She's strong enough to do it with the remnants. And she shows them how strong she is, basically. But they weren't going to anyway, so they were like, no, we're not going to. We don't want a war. And she's like, good, I don't either. I want peace. And so then the ghouls start chanting that she's their queen and everything, and for the ghouls. And that's when Kat realizes, oh, this is why she used me to get what she wants. Again, without getting her hands dirty, just like she did with Jeffrey or her creator, I can't remember his name, Gregor. It's one of the other, I think it was like the 4th book. Gregor. It's Gregor. Basically, I like him better in this book than some of the other ones, because the other ones he's like, no, it's changed, she can't go, and blah, blah, blah. But this time he's realizing, you know what, I can't hold her back. She's going to go and do what she wants anyway. And she's very prepared, and she is strong, and he's just learned to respect her as a woman and as a wife, and not keep trying to hold her back. And they don't argue near as much in this book as the other books. And I love that. Like, the relationship is becoming much more healthy. So I like this book a lot. And let me see. And Vlad is very, very funny in this book. He's in it a lot. He was also in the fight and everything. But this is when they're trying to, like, kill these ghouls and interrogate them. And it was these ghouls that I tried to kill them in an elevator, and she was telling Bones, like, we need to leave one alive and send the message that, you know, we don't want to kill ghouls and everything. But then Vlad kills him, and she looks at him and was like, what was that? And he was like, premature inflammation, he replied. Happens sometimes. Very embarrassing. I don't like to talk about it. A snort of amusement came from my right. I swung in that direction to see Bones bestow the most approving look on Vlad he'd ever given him. Then his expression sobered as he met my gaze. And that part just made me laugh out loud so much. And she later talks about that again later in the book. But it just made me laugh so hard, because she still hasn't realized that sometimes you have to kill even if you don't want to prove your ferocity and your strength, so bad people stop coming after you. And Bones had to do it, Vlad's had to do it, all the master vampires have had to do that. And so now she's realizing she's gonna have to do it too. They're gonna keep coming after her otherwise. And if she wants peace eventually, she's gonna have to do it. So, and that's why in the book she does it at the end. And then she realizes they still don't see mercy as mercy. They see it as a weakness. So, different rules than human. Okay, and I'm going to quickly talk about the ebook, One for the Money, by Jeaniene Frost. It's this one. Jeaniene Frost. And this one's only 7 chapters. And it's one that if you don't want to pay for and read, you don't need to, because it's so short and so little happens in it. You don't need to read it for it to make sense. Although in the beginning of this book, it does mention the fight scene in here that happens. It does mention it in this book, and that made me like, oh, I know what's going on. But even if you're not sure what scene it's talking about, it's still not applicable to the whole series in the book. Like, you don't need to know what happens. They mention it enough that you know something, a fight or something happened, damage happened at the place Bite that they go to, the club. But that's it. So, but in this, Dawn basically asks her and Bone to protect this human girl, and she's basically going to inherit lots of money. And her uncle is trying to have her killed, and he's like hiring ghouls and vampires to kill her. Ones that are desperate for money. And then in this book, she also learns her pyrokinesis powers are temporary, because it's been so long since she drank from Vlad. That's when she's learning that powers are very temporary. It just depends on who you drink from and how long it's been since you drank from them. And then the powers start to diminish. And the girl they're protecting is Tammy. And she keeps, like, hitting on Bones and everything. But he's like, I'm not interested. But then Tammy and her mom, actually, Kat's mom, bond pretty well. And Bones starts teaching her mom, Kat's mom, and Tammy how to fight to protect themselves. And that actually also leads to, in this book, where her mom starts going, she works for the unit she used to work for, and she's being trained as like a new person to be on the team, and she doesn't find out until she goes there when she finds out Dawn is sick. But yeah, and because she realizes she wants to kill the bad ones, and she wants something to do with her life, and she doesn't want to be helpless anymore. And so, yeah, and Kat almost dies. She learns that the heart sometimes can be on the right side instead of the left. It's like an anomaly that happens when they was human, and then when they return a vampire. And this one vampire that she almost dies, but Bones killed him and then saved her. But yeah, and they kept Tammy alive, and they found out her uncle was killed by other vampires, and they came to the club looking for Kat, not Tammy, and that's why they're trying to kill Kat. And it was followers of Pauline, basically. And, well, not the vampires. The vampires were ones that had grudges, but they were also didn't want a war between ghouls and vampires, so they were trying to kill Kat in the process. Same reason in this book, ghouls are trying to kill her, trying to prevent a war, basically. And there was some damage to the club bike, but just in the parking lot, and that's the part it's talking about in this other book. But that's all that happens. It was extremely short. What I say was good? Yeah, I was entertained. It was good. Tammy was extremely annoying. Did not appreciate her at all. But otherwise, it was pretty good. And it does explain some of the things that are going on in this book, but not enough that you really need read it. But I only paid like $1.99 for it, so... Alright, and then also in this book, I'm just going to quickly talk, look, I finally got the pictures in for the books that I've recorded, and I'm really excited about that. I finally got the ink and got them in, and I just now entered this in. I'm reading this book offside on my phone as an ebook, but you can buy it as a hardback book. It's a hockey romance book, and I'm really excited to read it. But I got the page all ready, so after I'm done reading it, I can write it all down and record it. But yeah, you see, I just want to show you, I've got so much books recorded from these Night Huntress books. Love that. So, and I even got ones that I haven't read yet, but I got them ready. So that's exciting. So yeah, got that. I'll just show you. And I still need to buy, I'm going to buy little star stickers and little spicy pepper stickers and rate the books and the characters. I'm going to rate the male character on a scale from 1 to 5, what I think about him, and the female, and then the overall book. And then I'm also going to rate the spicy pepper scenes, of how maybe spicy the book was, or the scenes in the book, or not spicy. So I'm excited about that. And I finally figured out with these ebooks that I've been reading on Good Novel, the werewolf ones that I need to do reviews on, I figured them out. And there's 4 of them. And I'm on the third one at the moment, but so I finally figured that out, and I gotta do videos on those reviews because those books I love just as much as these vampire books. Like, they're so good. So anyway, subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, ring the bell, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.